Welcome, number ones, to the Salty Commander podcast. I am your super changed host, Balam Nahra.
Hi guys, and this is Raul, your favorite chameleon.
It's flavorful. Our intros are flavorful today.
Yes,
Um,
you'll see.
as you may notice, yet again, the Tom Brady of Magic,
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Adami Minguez,
Aidame Mangus
Mr. Victor Adame Minguez, is missing.
again.
He's again in a world tour because he's famous.
Mm-hmm.
He's traveling.
Because
To,
he can.
yeah,
Yeah,
I think he's going to Seattle to the thing,
yeah. The con
the
thingy.
Magic Fest Seattle,
Yeah, cards,
and like
cardboard.
he likes to take his sweet time, so he goes like to other places and just missing his responsibilities as a podcaster.
Yeah,
You know.
but but we do have a super techy, spicy, incredible deck tech for
Yeah,
you
it seems
guys.
like it's not on purpose, but it seems like we're saving the deck techs for when he is not around.
Yeah.
Also,
Well, it.
actually, my the knights deck tech was without you because you were like in doing medieval stuff.
Oh, true. It was also kind of flavorful because I was doing night stuff. So
I don't
yeah,
think there's any deck tech that's been with like the three of us.
true. Hmm.
But
No,
anyway,
yeah.
um, also not on purpose, but apparently that's how we roll now. We are making yet another Brawl commander into EDH.
Yep.
And
It's not on purpose, but I think all of the brawl commanders are great.
yeah, they're
Are
super
fun.
fun and great. So like, we're just like obviously because they're new, we just like we are building them and like oh let's talk about this in the podcast and then like by the time we got to Chulane, like Corvold was kind of planned that it was gonna be like the next Brawl commander, but we didn't plan Chulane at all. I mean,
Hmm.
it's your deck.
Yep.
We didn't plan it to be a Brawl commander or anything. It's just like it just popped out. So I guess now we have to make a Sir Gwyn deck next.
Yeah. We have to.
So
So
give
stay
us
tuned for the.
a little introduction about the deck. Obviously, we already kind of said who's the
uh,
commander, but
uh,
say who's the
yep.
commander, what's the purpose.
Yep. Well, so the commander is Chulane, Teller of Tales. So it's a legendary creature, human druid, for 2 generic, 1 green, 1 white, and 1 blue. It has vigilance, and whenever you cast a creature spell, draw a card. Then you may put a land card from your hand into the battlefield, and then you can pay 3 and tap it to return target creature you control to its owner's hand. And it's a 2/4.
Okay.
So obviously, Chulane it's super good. I don't know if the term is broken, but he's awesome.
Yeah, I think it's been
And
kind of tested that it's a little bit broken. Well, yeah, like it's
I mean,
super
yeah,
value.
in the quote unquote regular build, the normal way to do it, uh, normally you see tons of ETBs, of course, and tons of combos and tons of super broken interactions between mana dorks and recursion or whatnot. So I think in general it's a great commander, but most of the time you see Cholain as a combo piece. Um, in like a standard band good creature kind of thing. Like
Oh,
Brago but with green or I don't know.
yeah.
I, I
Actually,
haven't I
Victor,
haven't seen. Oh yeah, Victor has
yeah,
also a Cholain deck.
Victor has a Chulane deck that is like what's the scarecrow? It's a color matters deck.
Painter Servant.
Painter Servant that just has a bunch of cards that change the color of your or everyone's cards, and has a ton of cards that are color specific hatred.
Hmm.
and it's a very annoying deck. You may have heard us talking bad about it. It's just a very annoying deck. I think it's pretty creative as well. Maybe when he comes back, we can make a deck
Maybe.
about Tulane again. I don't know.
No, I will say no. But I think, I mean, yeah, the deck is creative and it's interesting, but I think that's the perfect example of how Chulane is just broken and you can play him anywhere.
But what is your deck?
Well, my deck, my deck, it's a different take on Chulane. I haven't seen any deck like that, so I'm actually proud of it because I wanted to build Chulane, but I didn't know how. So when I um the full story is that I wanted to build something around Gilt Leaf Archdruid. So let me read it first. So Gilt, I'm not ready.
Okay, I can read. Guildleaf
Read it, please.
Archdruid. It's a 5 CMC, 3 generic, 2 green, creature elf druid. It's a 3/3. It has an effect that says whenever you play a druid spell, you may draw a card. Pretty simple. But it also has tap 7 on tap druids you control, gain control of all lands target player controls.
Hmm.
Uh, so
So
yeah,
the
in a obvious druid deck, Guildleaf Archdruid is super broken. It takes one person out of the game.
yep, and also draws you a card. So it's card draw. But the first like the the alpha, the beta version of the deck was like I wanted to build a druid, right?
Yeah,
But then
because
I figured that
Chulane.
every druid is just yeah, because Chulane is a human druid, right?
Yeah.
But every druid, all I mean, all druids are mana dorks. So it was like, okay, my only win con is going to be Guild Leaf Archdruid, and the rest of the game I'm just going to ramp a lot. So
There's also a lot of druids that are card draw, right?
uh yeah, but I mean the main like resource that they have is mana dorks in
Or
different and weird ways. But at the end of the day, it's just mana dorks. So I figured that I wanted to play all the different creature types in just one deck using that type of ability. I mean, in this case, tap 7 untap druids, and then we have like uh, I don't know, different creature type based strategies, right? So we are playing changelings.
what?
Yeah, Chulane with Chulane changelings. Saying that 3 times in a row.
Chulane changelings, Chulane changelings, Chulane changelings. That was hard.
Yeah, but yeah. So the deck, it's around tons of that those type of effects.
Or tribal
Um,
lords and tribal effects and creature
yep,
specific things, but for
yeah,
every card. Well, not every card, but a lot of cards.
yeah, and like you mentioned before, it's a little bit like tons of cards that I wanted to play, but I didn't have the chance because I don't have like a wolf tribal deck or a angel deck or whatever. But now playing changelings, I'm able to do all of those things in just one deck.
Okay.
Wow, wow. So let's
So
start. The first like section that we have is like spicy techie cards slash cards that I wanted to play for a long time.
so we already mentioned like Guild Thief Archdruids. Archdruid.
Yep.
Let's okay.
So
Let's go
yeah,
move on. Yeah.
yeah. Let me say that real quick. Guild Leash, Archmage, that guy, the druid guy. Is
Guild Thief Archdruid.
Archdruid, yeah. So he's like the main quote unquote win con of the deck because you're able to have tons of druids, vampire druids, and yeah, but you are able also to win through combat because we have tons of lords and tons of funny abilities. So yeah, I mean, I just wanted to mention that out. But the first card that I want to mention in the spicy section is Tolsimir, a friend to wolves. Tolsimirdo. So it's a legendary creature, Elf Scout. It's 2 generic, 2 green, and 1 white. And whenever Toltemir, friend to wolves, enters the battlefield, create Boja, friend to elves, a legendary 3/3 green and white wolf creature token. Whenever a wolf enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 3 life, and that creature fights up to 1 creature you don't control. So in this case,
And it's a 3/3.
it's a 3/3, sorry. Yeah. So in this case, since we are playing, I mean, all of the creature types, because we are playing tons, yeah, several changelings. Um, and also we're playing lords. So the wolves and the changelings are going to be
Pretty big.
entering, yeah, are going to be pretty big most of the time. And yeah, these guys works as a removal, and also, I mean, the life is it's good, and this deck has a little bit of a problem with removals because there's not a lot of room to wiggle. I mean, you need to play tons of creatures. So I'm trying to have removal, but creature based, right?
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, this guy it's new in the deck, but it's been working good, and I always wanted to play him. So
I'm not a fan of the. I'm not a big fan of this card. I mean, I see why you're on it. What I
Mhm,
am a big fan of is this next card, which is Galecaster Colossus.
mhm,
7 CMC, 5 generic, 2 blue, creature giant wizard for 5/6. It has, 5 power, 6 toughness.
yep,
Tap and untap the wizard you control to return target non-land permanent you don't control to its owner's hand. I
yep,
mean, this card in Wizards deck is pretty annoying. It's super busted. Like in the Inala decks, are it's broken. Like it's absolutely broken.
yeah. This in Inala, actually, we have. Do you remember in the first like tournament that we
Yeah,
we yeah, this guy was doing great in Inala because the token was doing uh funny things.
I mean, this guy on,
Uh,
on, on his own can be like a one turn return whatever.
yeah, I mean you
Like
can, yeah, and this acts like as kind of removal again because I'm trying, like I said, I'm trying to keep it creature based. So yeah, this guy is great, and again, we have all the creature types. So we're tapping changelings to return stuff, and then I want to put a mark here because we do have some interactions with tapping creatures. So we will get to those in a bit.
okay,
But remember that we that tapping creatures
it's a thing.
it's a thing in the deck. Yeah. So it's tribal tap. Yeah. So yeah, the next card it's
Another one.
uh another one that I wanted
Another
to
one.
play. Again, this card was like I want to build an illusion deck, but I mean there's like 5 illusions. So there's no way to play this guy. But finally I have a place for him. So it's Lord of the Unreal. It's 2 blue for a creature human wizard. It's a 2/2, and illusion creatures you control get +1/+1 and have hexproof. So I wanted to look for um, creatures that, besides of the buffing, I mean, not only lords, but lords with something else, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I had this guy, and I had the guy that buffs. It does the same thing, but for spirits, but it cost 1 more. So at the end, I decided to play just Lord of the Unreal. And I mean, the +1/+1 is good, obviously, but the hexproof part, it's what's awesome. And I mean, yeah, playing lords with extra stuff on them, it's like the main thing.
This guy pretty good. I mean,
Yeah,
it's very cheap. It's a I think like it's gonna happen a lot of times with a lot of other creatures that it also interacts with the Guildcaster Colossus, right? And because it's a wizard, so you're gonna have a
yeah,
lot of cross interactions with running all the creature types. But I really like the hexproof. I didn't know about this card, but it
Yep.
seems pretty good in this. I mean, obviously in an illusion deck. I mean, but
Yeah, there's no way that an illusion deck works.
yeah, I mean,
But
there may be a way, but I think this is the fun part about this deck, that you take
yeah,
a lot of the weak parts of other decks and just mash it together,
yeah,
and like
and
they cover
yeah,
each
I mean,
other.
yeah, they and like that's a super good thing that you mentioned. That when I was building the deck, I figured that a lot of creatures are like wizard, elf, for example, right? So if you have a lord for either of those creatures, you will be crossing things, and then, like you said, for the colossus, uh, you can have interactions with another cards, right? So we do have tons of humans, tons of elves, tons of uh, warriors, weirdly enough. So yeah, you end up having this weird combination on the field that I don't know. You can do weird commander stuff. That's the part that I love about the deck. It's super commandery.
Hmm.
Like you don't see many of these cards in regular basis, right? So so you mentioned that guy, Lord of the Rail. So I want to talk about another important elf. You want to read it or?
Yeah, it's uh, a story Renegade Leader, right?
Mm-hmm,
It's a 3 CMC, one generic, one green, one green. Legendary creature, Elf Warrior, 2/2. You pay 1 green to regenerate another target elf, or you pay 2 generic and 3 green. Elf creatures you control get +3/+3 and gain trample until end of turn.
mm-hmm.
Obviously, Azorius is a very well known commander card. It's a very well known finisher in elf tribals. I don't know what else to say. Like, this card is just really good. Like the regeneration, the overrun effect. This card is a very solid and overpowered card in elves.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much it works in this one again, because not all the creatures may be elves, but a lot
Mm-hmm.
of them will be, and also a lot of the creatures that enable things, like the Gilt leaf archdruid, is an elf.
Yep.
So again, it's the same, like you just said, like the interaction and part, but on its own, this card is really good. I mean,
Yep.
for what its purpose is.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you said, it's not the same thing as having like 8 or 12 or 50 elves and do the effect like 6 times. But I had several games in which I had like I don't know, like 5 changelings, but also I had like 2 or 3 lords, right? So the changeling ended up being like with just one activation of a series, the changelings were like 8/8 with trample, right? And I mean, if you have 5/8/8 plus the buffs, um, I mean, it's not that bad.
Yeah,
And also, yeah, the regeneration part is good. And yeah, I mean, the point of the deck, besides doing the fun stuff about the lands, it's having tons and tons of creatures
yeah,
and do
yeah.
stuff with them.
And like, obviously, Chulane is enabled by creatures.
Yep,
Like, whenever you cast a creature spell, you can't play the other lands. He returns creatures
to your hand.
to your hand. Like, it's a lot of creatures, and then it's a lot of interaction. Like, the engine Chulane provides itself is really good. So I can see how, even though you're not running that much of shapeshifters and changelings, which we get to a minute,
Hmm.
uh, I can see how you can always at least get like 2 or 3, right? Like you're
Yeah,
searching a lot in this deck, and I don't mean by like tutors. You just like drawing a lot of cards and ramping really fast.
yep. And yeah, a good turn is it's whenever you have the chance to cast like 4 creatures in a row because you will be drawing tons and ramping tons, and yeah. So yeah, you don't need tutors in this deck, I think, for me, because you draw a lot. So that's another point that we are going to see in just a minute. But let me mention in the spicy section also,
The best
it's
card. You said this was one of the like the third best card in the deck.
I don't know if the third because it's been a super interesting card.
I mean, Chulane has to be the number one,
Yeah, Chulane is the number one. Yeah, that's druid. That is the third because the
and
druid
yeah, and the Gilt archdruid is just
is
broken.
the second. But this card is being doing great in the deck. So it's Unesh, criosphinx Suffering. So it's a legendary creature, Sphinx, 4 generic, 2 blue. It has flying, and Sphinx spells you cast cost 2 generic less to cast. Whenever Unesh, criosphinx Sovereign, or another Sphinx enters the battlefield under your control, reveal the top 4 cards of your library. An opponent separates those cards in 2 piles. Put one pile into your hand and the other into your graveyard. So
It's a 4/4.
it's a 4/4. Yeah. So as you see, also this could be a very well legendary slash tap slash changeling deck because we have tons and tons of legendary creatures. So on Nesh, it's great because I mean the first thing that all of your changelings are going to cost 2 less, and that's important because you need to cast a ton of creatures in one turn, right?
Yeah.
But the factor fiction part of it's ridiculous. I mean, do you remember the
Yeah,
Anish
yeah, yeah. I
deck,
was
right?
just gonna talk about that.
Yeah.
You had a lot of years ago. Well, not a lot, some
No,
years ago.
like 35 maybe.
You had a like an Unesh cryosphinx commander, like specifically Unesh with
Yep.
sphinxes, and that deck was really strong in the late game. If that deck
Yeah.
got like if it got off, it was
Hmm.
impossible to win against that deck. Like
Yeah, it was
the sphinxes weren't even that good,
no. Uh-huh.
but just the value it gave you, it was ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous, and there was no way you could beat it because you had all the answers. And
Yeah.
that was like in a monoble deck. I mean, now I can't imagine now that you have like way a lot of more colors and you can go even more creature intensive.
Yeah. Um it was fun to see a blue deck do that well without combo. And yeah, I remember that at one point you guys didn't let me play this one cuz you wanted to kill me before turn 8. Because if this deck survived after turn 8 or 9, like you said, it was pretty much done. I mean, and not even with a solid threat. It was just like too much value from getting tons and tons of cards. And yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. And I think in this case it's better because you're drawing for if you play a changeling, you draw first you draw for Chulane.
And then you do the factor fiction.
Yep. You I mean you draw a card from Chulane, then you can put a land and then you do the factor fiction. So tons of things happen when you cast just one changeling. And also, I mean, if you have any other creature interaction like the Colossus, or I mean, it could be anything. Um, you're doing you're doing tons of things. I want to talk about in this same matter about Rising Reef. Um,
Recently.
yeah, sorry, Rising Reef. So it's a creature elemental for 1 generic, 1 blue, and 1 green. 1 green and 1 blue. Sorry. Whenever Rising Reef or another elemental enters the battlefield under your control, look at the top card of your library. If it's a land card, you may put it into the battlefield tab. If you don't put the card in, if you don't put the card into the battlefield, put it into your hand. So if you
It's a
have
one
this
one.
guy, It's a 1/1. If you have this one with Unesh and Chulane, and you play one changeling, you're drawing two cards. You can put two lands, and then you're doing factor fiction. So
Crimson
it's
Reef is really good. Like
yeah.
it's one of those cards that it's an obvious most including elementals deck. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't know, it just seems funny that all these interactions and it seems very like a very crazy deck. Like if you
It
can get
is.
it going, it's just
Mm-hmm.
it's just absolute chaos. Well, I mean not chaos, but you know, a lot of effects going activating all over the place.
Yep. Yeah, it's a slow deck because you need to build over time. You need to have tons of board presence. Um, but if you're able to do it, it's tons of fun and tons of weird interactions that you don't see in every game. So yeah, back to Onish, it's incredible, and yeah, it's the one of the MVPs of the deck. So we do have. I think. Do you want to talk about any other of the spicy slash? I wanted to play that card section.
Actually, yeah. God Eternal Oketra.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it's a 5 CMC, 3 generic, 1 white, 1 white. Legendary creature, zombie god. It's a 3/6 with double strike. Whenever you cast a creature spell, create a 4/4 black zombie warrior creature token with vigilance. Wow. When God Eternal Oketra dies or is put into exile from the battlefield, you may put it into its owner's library, third from the top.
Yep.
God Oketra, I think, is one of those cards that you just wanted to play because you wanted to play her.
Yeah. Pretty
But
much.
it's still kind of in theme of the deck because you're gonna play a lot of creature spells. So the effect of whenever you cast a creature spell, put a token, it's gonna be off the wall, and also it's very good like that. It's very easy to keep casting her, right? So once you
Mm-hmm.
put her in, you're gonna have a lot of tokens all the time.
Yep, it's one of the most generic cards of the deck. I think you do see tons of. I mean, Oketra is the obvious choice if you're playing creatures. I mean, it's not that good, but uh, yeah, I wanted to play her, and also it gives you tons of value because um, if you have, there's been games where I have tons of changelings, but I don't have like tons of lords. And if I have Oketra, I will have like a plan B of just beating down people with 4/4 zombies, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's one of the generic cards, but it's great. It's good. I want to talk about before moving on into the changelings. Um, there are several cards that I have that are interesting, but I mean, the most one of the most interesting cards that I want to talk about here is let me read it. Rooftop Storm.
Oh
So
right.
yeah, it's an enchantment. It's a 5 generic, 1 blue, and you may pay 0 rather than pay the mana cost for zombie creature spells you cast. So you're playing your Sphinx and your elves and your druids for free, right? So I think it's one of the spiciest techie cards on the deck because I mean obviously it just works with the changelings, but I have tons of changelings in the deck. So if I'm able to cast them for free, um, pretty much if you're able to cast like 5 for free, you're in a pretty good spot.
Yeah,
And
I mean, yeah. Sorry.
yeah, and if you're mix that up with Equilibrium, that is an enchantment for 1 generic, 1 and 2 blue, 1 blue, 1 blue, and it reads whenever you play a creature spell, you may pay 1. If you do, return target creature to its owner's hand. So if you're able to mix those two, you're in a super good position because you're playing 1 to cast a creature spell, draw a card, put a land, and then return a creature your opponent controls, or even yours if you're crazy enough, to your hand.
Hmm.
So yeah.
I'm kind of surprised that you're telling me, like, because you have obviously played and play tested, that you're telling
Yep.
me this deck works. It's just because it really seems like a mess of a deck, but
Yeah.
I mean, and I do believe you. It just seems so weird and funny to actually be able to build and play around.
Yep.
And yeah, I think a lot of the carrying around is because of Chulane, obviously.
Of
Because
course. I mean,
because
yeah.
rooftop with Chulane is ridiculous. Equilibrium with Chulane alone is ridiculous. Like it doesn't matter what you play, like let's say with Chulane and Equilibrium, like it doesn't matter if
Mhm.
you have changelings, those two cards are gonna go insane by their own. Like you play Chulane and then Equilibrium and then some random elf, like
Mhm.
that's a lot of value right there.
Yep. Obviously, if you're able to do the rooftop storm thingy, it's I mean 10 times the value, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, of course, the deck is like glued together from having Chulane. But yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned that it's a wacky deck because I mean it is. But for example, the first time that I played it, most of the players at the table were like, you're getting like you're playing combo, right? Combo band." I was like, "Nope, wait and see." And I start playing like the lords first. They were like, "What?" And then they didn't. I mean, I was like invisible to them, right?
Hmm.
And at one point, I was able to do the archdruid thingy, and I ended up stealing from two players all the lands. And they were like, "Oh, now we see." Okay, but it's not like a one thing deck. I mean, you can do tons of weird interactions that they're. I mean, they're so random to appear. Of course, you're looking to have Unesh, for example, or I don't know many of the cards. But there's a lot of interaction that you can have without even noticing, right?
Yeah.
So before
Um.
moving on to the Changeling, do you want to say another thing,
Yeah.
or
I
I
wanna
just want to
say.
mention them real
I.
quick?
Yeah. I just wanna like. I wanna slightly mention. Yeah. I'm gonna talk about like because I don't think we've talked about a lot of the anthem lords. I mean, we talked about like two or three. I just want to
Hmm.
mention like you run things like Valiant Knight, which is a 4 CMC 3 generic 1 white creature human knight 3/4. Says other knights you control get +1/+1, and also has an ability that you pay 3 generic and 2 white knights you control gain double strike until end of turn. And like in the same venue, Lyra Dawnbringer, a super famous card. It's a 5 CMC 3 generic 2 white legendary creature, angel, 5/5, flying, first strike lifelink, which is super good. And
Yep.
other angels you control get +1/+1 and have lifelink. So this is the type of cards you run, like lords that also do something else for
For
the
the creature type.
for
Yep.
the creature type.
Yeah, yeah. Also, for example, Timber Protector. It's a 3/4 warrior for 4 generic, 1 green, and other 3/4 creatures you control get +1/+1, and other 3/4 and forest are indestructible. So yeah, like you were saying, +1/+1 and another thing, right? Lifelink, indestructible. It can be anything. So yeah, most of the non-changeling cards are either fun creature type matter effects or lords, right? And just to mention real quick, for example, Ajula, it's removal, and also grows your guys. Quasalis lingers is like what's the name of the card? The card that does the same thing but in enchantment. Aura shards.
Yeah.
Yeah. So many weird, clunky creature type interactions. So yeah, let's move on to the changelings section. Uh, I don't think. I mean, there's not many things to say about changelings. They, they all have the same ability. I mean, they all have the same creature type. First of all, the creature type is Shapeshifter, and they all have the same ability, which is Changeling.
All right,
This card is every creature type.
yeah, can you let's read one and just go there, go from
Yeah,
there.
I'm going to read just like the more interesting, but I just wanted to mention that all the creatures in this section are uh, have the changeling ability, right?
Yeah.
So one that I think it's super interesting is the new one, Unsettler Mariner, which is a creature, a shapeshifter, one white, one blue, and again is a changeling. Whenever you or a permanent you control becomes the target of an spell or ability an opponent controls, counter that spell or ability unless its controller pays one. So it's cheap, it can give you value from the previous card that we mentioned, and also have this like added benefit that if you become a target of a thing, they need to pay one more.
So as you were
So
saying,
yeah,
it's very important that how many changeling. I mean, we're saying changelings, but they're not changelings. Changeling is the ability, but we're
yeah,
just gonna just keep calling them changelings. How
yeah.
many changelings do you run?
I think 16 or
Okay,
17 or something like
16.
that.
So
Yeah.
obviously there are all shapeshifters, and they all have changeling. And as you said, this card is every creature type. That's super. I mean, that's why this is why I was saying that I was kind of iffy about the deck, because
Hmm.
15 cards to me doesn't make a theme, right?
Hmm.
Like a tribal theme.
Yep.
Um, but apparently it does. I mean, I may be wrong. I haven't played against the deck, but you just said like you've won with it several times with different types of play groups and people, and I don't know. It's super weird, but yeah, changelings. Um, and a lot of them they're not great.
Yeah. They are I mean most of them are like
But
very underwhelming creatures.
so I think it's good that you can salvage what you can from those cards and just play
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, I mean the interesting part is that the changelings, I mean you need the shapeshifters or the changelings to enable the abilities, but the abilities are the, I mean the other creatures are the good creatures, right? For
Yeah,
example, Unesh. Um changelings are just like a way of doing the fun interactions instead of playing druids or sphinxes or angels or whatever. You're able to play all those tribal strategies in just one place, right? Obviously, I mean, uh, by any means this is a competitive deck or anything. It's a
yeah,
fun,
of course.
weird commandery
Janky,
deck.
but
Yeah,
but in the good side of janky, like
yeah,
not
yeah, yeah.
not completely useless or fragile, just clunky.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, yeah, like you said, the deck can do stuff, but it's funny and it's weird.
I wanna
So
I wanna talk
yeah,
about the best changeling of them all, the best
mm,
dragon of them all, the best.
let's see if we are uh, if we're thinking about the same guy.
I mean, it's the meme,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. So
the
it's the
the
yeah.
the best vampire of them all. It's mirror
In this case,
entity.
it's not the better. It's not the best one on the deck, but yeah, it's a close contender.
I don't know. I think it's the best creature type of that type
Yeah.
because it's so useful. Emir Entity, also known as ET.
Yeah.
It's a 3 CMC, 2 generic, 1 white creature shapeshifter 1/1 changeling, obviously, and it has
Hmm.
X. Pay X amount of mana. Until end of turn, creatures you control have base power and toughness of X and X, where X is the amount of money you paid, and gain all creature types. This is super important. So now
Yep.
your Lord enablers are also changelings. I mean,
Hmm.
and now everyone's like the party is open to everybody.
Yep. With this guy, you can do like ultra fun and weird interactions between, for example, I don't know, Esuri, for example. Now your creatures are like big, let's say 8. And also if you activate one time Esuri, all of them, even the lords, are getting +3/+3 and trample. So yeah, it's the best changeling in my opinion. Um, and I mean, yeah, I have won games with this guy just paying like, yeah, I will pay 10, just like that,
Yeah.
right? And but I think Mirror Entity is well known for doing that. Uh, but this guy, I think it's one of the better shapeshifters, and he doesn't see tons of play. So is Shapesharer. Shapesharer. Yeah, it's one generic, one blue creature shapeshifter changeling, and for two generic and one blue, target shapeshifter becomes a copy of target creature until your next turn. It's a 1/1. So any you have like 16 or 17 shapeshifters in the deck, right? So you can target any of those and they can become a boring clicks if you want, or an Emrakul or whatever. Or even another lord if you need the boost, right?
Okay.
So it's interesting that you can do this several times, and pretty much if you don't have the lords on the battlefield and you have only shapeshifters, you can copy an entire field. Uh, so you can have, I don't know, the boring clicks of one guy and the Shelly of another and the Elish Norn of another, for example, right? Just by playing 3. So I think this guy is super interesting. And yeah, I didn't even know Shapeshare until I start researching on shapeshifters.
Yeah, I didn't know about this card either.
Yeah, but it's fun. It's great. It works great.
I don't think if it's the best shapeshifter. I don't know. I'm gonna stick with Mirror Entity because this guy needs a lot of pieces to be moving, and Mirror Entity you
Yeah,
could just slam him and go nuts.
yeah, yeah. And the part about giving all the creature types to all creatures, it's great. Yeah, mirror entity is better. So we do have several other shapeshifters, of course. Um, I mean, like we were saying, none of them, the rest of them are not that interesting. Some of them have trample, some of them don't do nothing. just they're just shapeshifters.
I think
Um,
from
one
what I
one
see,
interesting, yeah, one
uh,
of the most interesting is let me, is the one that puts a token. It's Valiant Changeling.
Irregular
Yeah,
Cohort.
yeah, yeah. So one of the better most interesting ones. It's Irregular Cohort. It's a 2 generic, 2 white. Well, 2 generic, white white. It's a changeling, of course. Shapeshifter. When Irregular Cohort enters the battlefield, create a 2/2 colorless shapeshifter creature token with changeling. So it's a 2/2. So for 4, you're getting double the ETBs, right?
Yeah,
A-
that's. I think
And
that's cool.
and again, if you have Unesh, you just need to pay two white, and you will have. I mean, you will have one trigger from Chulane, and then one length, and then 2 triggers for Unesh. So yeah, good interactions. And I don't know if you want to talk about any other
Yeah, I want to like
shapeshifter.
one changing that I think is really good and it's a little unappreciated. It's
Hmm.
Chameleon Colossus.
Mm-hmm.
4 CMC, 2 generic, 2 green, creature shapeshifter, 4/4. I mean, those stats are pretty good. It's a changeling, obviously. Protection from black, it comes helpful.
Yeah.
And it has an activated ability for 2 generic and 2 green. Chameleon Colossus gets plus X until end of turn, where X is its power. That's. I mean, it's a pretty solid card. I mean, on its own is really good. With the lords, is even better.
Yeah. If you have a good amount of lords, just by paying 4, you can make him super big. And yeah, I mean it's one of the better ones. Uh, this guy also it's featured on the Color Matters deck from Big, and once he used that ability like 5 times in one turn, and and he killed me.
Send somebody to
So
the Shadow Realm.
yeah, yeah. So if you have enough mana, you can do fun stuff, and you will, because Chulane ramps a lot. And once you have a Zendikar resurgent type of effect, it gets nuts. You're pretty much winning at that point if you have um, any of the mana sinks that we were mentioned. Um, so yeah, the rest of the changelings are just changelings, right? They don't do any like. There's one with double strike. There's one with flying. But yeah, the important part about the deck is not. It's yeah, like I said, they are the key, but they need their friends to do the fun stuff, right? So moving on to the next section, it's gonna be real quick. This is just cards. Like in general, they are strong cards, but in Chulane, they I mean, you need to have them in order to protect the the changelings and the lords, because like like I said at the beginning, you're playing tons of creatures and you don't have any real like control ish kind of card. So if you're playing against a guy that loves mass removal, you're gonna be a little bit in trouble. But that's why we're playing the next cards in order to try to be more resilient, right?
Yeah.
So one of the most interesting cards that I want to mention is Deafening Silence. So it's an enchantment for 1 white, and each player can't cast more than one non-creature spell each turn. So you're playing most of the cards that you're playing are creatures. So with this card, you're able to slow down the spelly type of decks and the artifact things, and hopefully most of the time, you will be able to have an answer for the removal, right?
Yeah, this card is pretty
So,
one-sided, even though it's like a global effect, because you're not
mhm.
gonna be playing like as you said, you're not gonna be playing a lot of spells that are non-creature. You're gonna just keep slamming creatures and drawing and slamming, and it's a very good like on its own. It's a very good stopper for combo players. Like
Yeah, it's
it's
a
it's, it's
Staxi card,
yeah, it's good
but not
protection
really.
overall.
Yeah, and like I said, the deck is a little bit slow because you need to slowly build your creature based field. And with this card, you're able to do it because you're slowing down the rest of the table, of course. And yeah, you need those type of cards in order to make it to turn like 10 ish. Yeah, this is a very grindy deck.
Hmm.
Like,
Just how you
so
love
that's
them.
yeah, yeah. So that says a lot about it. So yeah, um, you want to talk about any of the
Um,
protection cards, if you will?
I have here in my docket Dobbin's Veto,
Yep.
which is 2 CMC, 1 white and 1 blue, instant. This spell can't be countered. Counter target non-creature spell. It's just like, pretty good.
Yep. We mentioned Dubbing Speedo because it's like a newer, cooler version of Counterspell. Uh, we are running like 4 or 5 counters. I mean, they're not that interesting. They're just counters. You need them to stop the mass removal, to stop the the blasphemous acts around. Um, yeah, I mean, they're not the most flashy cards, but you need them. Um, one card that is flashy, and I think it's played, but in many like combo based strategies, not really creature type. It's turnabout. So it's an instant for 2 generic 2 blue. Sorry, 2 generic blue. Tap or untap all artifacts, creature, or lands target player controls. So most of the time, you see this card used in Storm, of course, in order to untap your lands and play again and copy it and blah blah blah. But in this deck, you can. What I've been doing with Turnabout is you can untap your lands to play more creatures. It's like an extra turn. Um, but do you remember that we mentioned that we have like several tap effects?
Yeah.
So the archdruid, the guild lift, it's a tap. You need to tap 7, right, in order
Okay.
to steal one player's land. So you can what you can do is you can uh, tap 7, steal someone's land, and then play turnabout. Uh, in in that same train of thought, you can do the Colossus thing or Chulane even to return a card, and then untap all your creatures and do it again, right? So it's an extra turn. It's a weird extra turn.
Okay.
It enables you to play more creatures, but also enables you to, for example, steal all the lands for 2 players and being able to play. For example, if you have again the Colossus, you can tap all your changelings to return, let's say 5, and then play turnabout and do it again, right? So it's just like an extender to to do fun stuff.
Also, in a worst case scenario, you can use it to buy yourself a turn, right? Like if
Yeah,
someone is going to attack you, you just use this.
yeah. It's like a worst sudden spoiling, right? You can play it like defensively, but also offensively in your turn. So I think it's a pretty good card, and mm, yeah, I mean, it's underrated. You don't see many people playing turnabout, at least from from here. um, yeah. What else? What other card in the weird card section do you think it's important to mention?
I think we're good. Like we have Swan Song. I mean, not weird card, but Swan Song and for protection and stuff like that.
Yep. Um, so now I want to mention a super important part of the deck. It's just 3 cards. It's weirdly enough that it's an important part, but it's 3 cards. Um, but in the play, I mean, not play testing, but playing with the deck, I realized that you have tons of issues having too many cards in your hand, right? It's not a bad thing, but you need ways to have max to don't have like hand size, right? So one of the most obvious choices is Reliquary Tower, of course. Um, but one of the most
What's Reliquary Tower?
Reliquary Tower, it's a land that reads you don't have what does it
You have no
actually say?
maximum hand size,
Oh yeah. So
and it taps for one generic mana. Well, no, it
yeah,
taps for one colorless mana.
colorless mana. Yeah, the new color, colorless. So yeah, you need to have ways to for you to increase your hand size or have no maximum hand size. Because yeah, like I said, in all of the games, I ended up casting tons of creatures, but then discarding like 5 cards or 6. So that's no good. So I think the better version of Reliquary Tower is Tishana, Voice of Thunder. It's a legendary creature, Merfolk Shaman for 5 generic, 1 green and 1 blue. And Tishana, Voice of Thunder, power and toughness are equal to the number of cards in your hand. So that's pretty good. You have no maximum hand size, and when Tishana enters the battlefield, draw a card for each creature you control. So
I don't know
it's
if
the
it's better than Reliquary Tower because Reliquary
but it's
Tower is a land.
yeah,
I
but it's
mean,
the perfect fit for the
for
deck.
yeah for card draw, I think it's really good. But for the purpose of having no maximum hand size, I think a land is better.
Um, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's. I mean, I don't know which is better. They're different, but Tishana serves the purpose of the deck very good because you have tons of creatures and you're going to be drawing tons of cards, and also it's the part which you don't, and also Tishana can serve as a win con because it's going to be big. I
Yeah, it's
mean,
gonna be really big.
yeah, and if you are able to mix Tishana with, uh, let's say, Mirror Entity, giving Tishana all the creature types, and then do again a Suri, for example, is going to be super good, and that happened. So, uh, I mean, yeah, I like Tishana a lot, and also, fun fact, I always wanted to play Tishana. So, so you want to read the weird card
the
of the section?
the last one, Library of Leng. It's an artifact of one CMC, just one generic, and it reads: you have no maximum hand size. If it also has another effect. If an effect causes you to discard a card, discard it, but you may put it on top of your library instead of into your graveyard. That's weird. But
Yes.
I mean, it's super good because I don't think you have a lot of recursion in the deck.
No, not really. I just have two cards that
Okay,
we're going to
so
mention.
I don't know if someone's trying to disrupt you. This is a good way to stop that. I mean, one of them, you know, a nice option.
Yep. I wanted I used Library of Link again as a way for me to have no maximum hand size.
Yeah,
But yeah, the fun part is like if I'm playing against a discard deck or whatever, that doesn't affect me. So it's again, I think that now we figure that the deck tried to do some things, but with extra things, right? So this is uh, maximum hand size, but with another thing, right?
yeah.
Just like Tishana. The main reason that Tishana is on the deck is because of the maximum hand size, but it has several other applications. Um,
So
yeah.
you said you ran two cards for recursion.
Hmm.
I know one of them, which is Emeria Shepherd. It's
Yeah.
a 7 CMC, 5 generic to white. Feature Angel. It's a 4/4 with flying, which has a very interesting mechanic that plays very well with Chulane.
Hmm.
Landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may return target non-land permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. Non-land permanent. That's pretty good.
Yep.
But if that land is a plains, you may return that non-land permanent card to the battlefield instead. I think Emeria Shepherd is a very underrated card. It's super powerful, and in the right decks, it's kind of invincible. I mean, obviously, dies to removal and everything, but just the ability to bring back things, expensive things, by playing cards, it's playing lands, it's super strong.
Yep. And like you said, it's a little bit uh, underappreciated. I think you don't see many people playing Maria Shepherd if it's not on land a landfall strategy. But in Chulane works nice because um, just by playing creatures, you're able to do the trigger ability, right? And of course, we are not running that many planes, but we have the lands that share like land type, right?
Yeah.
So plains forest, plains island. So you will have tons of interactions, and in the worst case, you're getting your creatures back to your hand, and you're able to play them. I mean, there's not like uh, down down any. ¿Cuál es la palabra?
There's no downside to it.
Yeah, there's no downside for her. So yeah, I played her mainly for the recursion, obviously, but you need ways to ensure that you have, for example, your archdruid or Unesh or any of the key elements of the deck.
What's the other card that is a recursion?
The other card is Karmic Guide.
Oh, right.
So yeah, it's a creature, angel spirit, 3 generic white white, and it has flying and protection from black. And also it has echo. Uh, you need to pay again 3 generic white white in order to keep Karmic Guide on the battlefield or she dies. Um, when Karmic Guide enters the battlefield, return target creature from your graveyard to the battlefield. So, of course, Karmic Guide is like the obvious choice if you're playing Chulane because you're able to use the ability from Chulane to return Karmic Eye to your hand and then play her again and again and again, right? Um, Again, I just played her. First of all, I love the card, but in order to ensure that I will have the Archdruid or any of the key elements, it's the same purpose as a Maria Shepherd. Um, yep, and I mean, of course, in Chulane, both of them are obvious choices, I think.
Yeah, the Karmic Guide is obviously a super good card. Everybody who runs Blink deck runs it. It's very commander famous. And it's a good card. And it's
Yeah,
the protection from black and the flying is just an extra. That's really good.
yep, and um, talking about Karmic Guide, I need to talk about the. It's for me. I didn't really wanted to play this card. Um, it's the most generic card in Tulane. It's the card that.
Avacyn. No, I don't know.
No, it's not Avacyn. It's Elishnor. No, it's not Elishnor. It's the first card that you. I mean, it's generic Tulane card, but it's good. I mean, I refused at the beginning to play the card, but it's good. I mean, you can do pretty crazy stuff. So it's Village Bell Ringer. It's a creature, human scout, for 2 generic, 1 white. It has flash, so you can cast it at any time you can cast an instant. When Village Bell Ringer enters the battlefield, untap all creatures you control, and it's a 1/4. So it's the same thing. It's a turnabout 2, right?
Okay.
So again, you if you have Karmic Guide, for example, you can play her and then return a creature, and then use Chulane to return the Karmic Guide, and then play the Village Bell Ringer to untap all your creatures, and you can play. I mean, if you have tons of mana, of course, you can play again the Karmic Guide and do weird, funny interactions. But the main reason is again to untap your 7 druids
Hmm.
and steal another. I mean, the goal is to steal the lands from the 3 opponents, right? If we're playing standard commander. If we're playing Mexican standoff, it's easier, of course. But
Just 2 times.
yeah, but you need to ensure that you're able to go off with the druid, the archdruid, at least stealing the lands of 2 players, right? So yeah, Village Bell Ringer, pretty boring card, but you need to. I mean, if you have it, it's great, and you can do pretty funny things with him.
Let's now go to the card draw section. Uh,
Yep.
I think you run like I don't know about. I want to talk about 2 cards here. But I
Hmm.
mean I don't know which other cards you run like Zendikar Resurgent. What else like
Yeah.
Tishana counts as card draw.
Yeah. Tishana's core draw. I mean, we mentioned Zendikar Resurgent, which is, I mean, one of the better green cards in general. Um, we do have two that are interesting.
But before we talk
Uh,
about those, what other cards? Like it's a lot of slots. What other draw do you run? That's pretty well known.
For example, I run Blue Sun Zenith,
Okay.
and I don't really have that many draw because Chulane
Chulane
does.
gives it all.
Yeah, and I mean Rishkar expertise,
Okay.
one of the
Oh,
most.
Rishkar is pretty good.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's pretty good, but it's generic. I'm aware of that. Um, but I do have two that are interesting to mention, and one of them is Seshiro the Anoited, or Seshiro the Anoited. It's a legendary creature, snake monk. It's 4 generic, green green. Other snakes you control gets +2/+2. And whenever a snake you control deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. So,
It's a three
like you
four.
said, it's a 3/4. It's the perfect fit for the deck because it's a lord, but also gives you draw if you're attacking with your changelings, right?
Yeah.
So I think this card was funny because I always wanted to play with the Shira, but I didn't want it to build
A
a
snake
snake
deck.
tribal.
No, that
Yeah,
doesn't seem like a fun deck to build.
yeah, I didn't want to play snakes. Uh, but here is the perfect fit because you can do. Uh, I mean, it gives you draw. It's like I was running. What's the Bident of Tassa?
Bident of
I
Tassa.
Bident of Tassa. Yeah, I was running that, but I preferred Seshiro instead because
Uh,
the other. I mean, it's yeah, it's better, quote unquote. Question mark.
but this one fits in the deck very well.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
The other card is Seagate Loremaster. It's a 5 CMC, 4 generic, 1 blue creature merfolk wizard ally. It's a 1/3, and it has an activated ability that says you tap the card and draw a card for each ally you control. Which again, as every card is every card type, with a changeling, this seems like a pretty good consistent card draw.
Yep. And it's one of the better. Yeah, it's one of the better and funnier things in the deck that you can. I mean, you can draw like 4 or 5 just by having the guy out, and yeah, it's one of the not that generic draw effects. Um, but like I said, I don't have that many of the regular draw spells because in testing, I mean, Chulane does everything, so you don't really need uh, spell based draw effects with the creatures. You're fine. Um, I mean, and I think we're done with the draw part.
Yeah,
We're moving on to the final part, the ramp. But before that, I want to mention this guy because I didn't know where to fit him because it's maybe it's not recursion. It's like I don't know. It's a weird card, but it has funny interactions in the deck. It's Marrow. I don't know how to pronounce that actually. Marrow Regery. Regeray.
what
Marrow
kid?
Marrow Regery. Regery. Yeah, it's Regery, right?
I don't know what are you talking about.
¿De qué habla?
It's the merfolk.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I
So,
don't.
so,
Okay, to
so
be
yeah,
honest, I don't know how. It's gonna be in your screen right now.
yeah.
Um,
So that guy
yeah,
that
this
you're seeing on
guy,
the
that
screen.
guy.
Be sure to put the FNM version because that's the one I have.
Oh, Mister.
Oh, Mr. Shiny Pants.
Okay,
So Mero
Mero.
guy.
Yeah, Mero Ridgery. I think Mero Ridgery is the correct way to
Yeah,
say it.
Regery seems fine. Mero Regery. So it's 2 generic, 1 blue, creature, Merfolk Soldier. So other Merfolk you control gets +1/+1. Whenever you cast a Merfolk, you may tap or untap target permanent. So, I mean, obviously, you're playing tons of Changelink Merfolks, and you're able to untap Chulane or your Druid, the archdruid, or the Colossus, or anything that you want, or you can tap someone's. mana bolt. But
Hmm.
the interesting part is that we are running several merfolks, like real merfolks.
Yeah, like Tishana is
So,
one, and
like,
the
yeah,
Renegade Loremaster.
yep. And the other merfolk, which I remember, I forgot the name, um, but it's a merfolk. So it's funny that we do have like real merfolks in the deck. Tatioba, yeah, that's the merfolk. Um, we do have several merfolks in the deck, so you can do a funny interactions with the untapped part of it. And if you want to be evil, you can tap the artifacts of your opponents. Or in one game, I tapped a blocker and I attacked with Tishana, and that was the game. So yeah, an interesting card, and yeah. So
I really did not expect this card at all, but yeah, I don't know.
no, it was the surprise factor of the deck.
It seems really annoying, like very disruptive.
Yep. Um. Yeah, I originally put the guy on the deck because of the druid. I was like, if I'm able to play several of them, I can untap them and then tap them again. But I realized it's just like, yeah, an annoying card. And I had the FNM version, and it gives you +1/+1. So it was like, yeah, go in.
Let's let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go to the ramp part of the deck.
Let's go
So
to the ramp
I think the basics
today.
like Soul Ring. What else? Cultivate. Do you run Cultivate?
Yep. The basic Soul Ring, Cultivate, Kodama's Reach, Explosive Vegetation. Um, yeah.
But
Zendikar Resurgent. But yeah.
there's this one card that's I mean again plays with the theme of the deck, which is
Mm-hmm.
Harabaz Druid. It's a 2 CMC, 1 generic, 1 green creature human druid ally. It's a
Yeah.
0/1. You tap it and you add X mana of any one color to your mana pool, where X is the number of allies you control. So by itself it gives 1 mana. So but when you have like any other changeling, it starts building up.
Yep. At the beginning, I was like, re- I, I, I wasn't sure about this card because of the same reason that you were talking about. I was like, only 15, 16, I don't know, but it's great. I mean, even alone, it gives you 1 mana, right? So it's a worst Llanowar elf. But I had games in which Harabaz Druid was giving me like 5, and it's of any color. So I was playing the new guy, El Arbolito, Fey Burrow Elder, I think is the name of the card. It's the worst version of the expensive elf.
Yeah,
That
the
gives,
bloom tender.
yeah, it's a worst bloom tender. Uh, but that guy, it can give you only 3. I mean, the most that the 3 can give you is 3. So Harabas Druid is better because it can give you mana of any color, and it can give you I don't know, 5 or even 6. And again, it has fun interactions with Turnabout and the Mero guy and the Campanero. What's the name of the guy?
The bell
Village
ringer.
Bell Ringer. Yeah. And funny enough, again, if you are able to have let's say you can pay 1 with Mirror Entity, and if you have, I don't know, X quantity of creatures, all of them will be allies. So this guy can give you tons of mana even if you don't have changelings. So yeah, I think it's the most cool ramp on the deck, and it works great. Yeah. So the only part that we are missing are the lands.
The mana
Um
base.
the mana base. So you need only forest because you're edgy. You no, I mean the mana base is whatever. I mean, uh, I don't know if we ever talk about this, but I mean I don't run any. I mean shock lands. If you have them, good. If you have dual lands, play them. If you're like Victor and you want to be the guy with
The Tom Brady of Magic.
the Tom Brady of Magic, the child that had cable. Um, yeah, if you have dual lands, play them. I I don't like to spend $15 on a shock land because I don't know.
Yeah, no, me neither.
Yeah. Um. So the only like worth mention part of the land base mana base is the bounce lands. So Azorius Chancery, Selesnya Sanctuary, and Simic Chamber. Um, in this particular build, uh, I I think in Chulane the bounce land work because you're ramping a lot, right? So
Yeah, because of
you don't.
the Chulane effect.
Yeah, so you are not missing your you're not getting behind a turn to get ahead on the next turn. You're doing that on the very same turn, right? If you're able to play the what's name Amulet of Vigor, in which the lands don't enter tap, play that card. It's expensive, but it's good. And yeah, the bounce lands are good, are surprisingly good on the deck. But the rest of the mana base, it's whatever. I mean, I do play the cards that have the two land type, the Battle for Zendikar lands and the Amonkhet lands
Yeah.
that have plains island. This is
Yeah,
just mainly for Emeria Shepherd.
there are dual lands, but not the dual lands.
Yeah, and this I have been collecting these hidden gems lands. I don't know if you know them, but the cycle is called the lair. So in this case, it's Treva's ruins. Treva is the name of the dragon, the band dragon, right? So Treva's ruin is a lair in addition to its land type. When Treva's ruin enters the battlefield, sacrifice it unless you return a non-lair land you control to its owner's hand, and it adds band to your mana pool.
Okay.
So
Oh, that
it's a bounce.
I may want to get these cards. I mean, I've never seen them before, but they're like bounce lands, but better.
Yeah, they are better because they don't enter tap.
Yeah, and they're flavorful. Wow, I did not know these cards.
Spicy, right? Yeah, I wasn't sure if you know the cycle. I I mean, obviously the cycle is just the dragons, Treva, Darigas, Crosses,
Tromar.
Dromar. Yeah, I do. I still missing. They're hard to find though. I mean, not in the US, I'm guessing, but here are they're a little bit hard to find because they're old. But I mean, yeah, they work great. Not I think not only in Chulane, they're good in general. They're another alternative to the Trilands that enter tap. And I mean, yeah, Chulane Changelings. Yeah, that's about it.
That's I don't know. That's a really spicy deck. This one's one of those that I can't believe it's not barter. I mean, I can't believe it
Yeah,
works, but I
you need
mean,
to.
I
Yeah.
played against your decks and I played against you and all, and so if you say it works, I mean, I'll believe it, I guess, but it's it seems super weird and super. It does seem like a very teamy deck, like a lot of fun interactions and crazy stuff happening all over the place. A super EDH, the spirit of EDH, the deck.
Yeah, it's yeah, it's one of those decks. I mean, if in which you have everything happening at the same time, and interactions that you don't even know that are going to happen until you're doing them. And yeah, I mean, um, it was a fun deck to build around because I was like, I need to. I had tons of lores to choose from, but this final build it's working good. I mean, yeah, again, it's not the most competitive deck, and if you're playing against Victor and his evilness, maybe maybe you will not win that easily. But in general, it's fun to play, and I think, in my experience, it's fun to play against. And most of the time, if you're stealing the lands, they're they concede.
Yeah,
You're not able to play with their own lands. But yeah, it's a fun twist on Chulane, and I hope you guys like it. And yeah, let us know if you have any other interesting way to play Chulane, or let us know if you're playing any of the cards that we mentioned.
yeah.
And
What cards do you seem maybe crazy or good in the deck? We're gonna post the deck list on the description.
mhm,
Just I don't know, whatever. Like, comment, subscribe, retweet, follow, everything you have to do on our YouTube, which is Salty Commander, and our Twitter is Salty Commander One, because we are number ones and you are the number one.
yeah.
Uh,
So number ones, let us know everything uh, that you want. And yeah, hopefully in the next episode we will have Tom Brady, the real Tom Brady, because it's easier to find that Victor.
I don't know if
And
he's gonna be available for the next episode. I hope so, because he's still gonna be around the world in 80 days.
yeah,
But
maybe we will have an episode worldwide edition.
yeah, Mr. Worldwide. Um, it's so fun that the three Brawl commanders we've done, they're doing very weird things. Like
Yeah,
it was Anthem's Alela,
rats.
it was yeah, Chulane Changelings and Corvold Rats.
And now we need to figure some
Something
weird
crazy with
way.
Sir Gwen.
Yeah,
Like now
Sir
we have to
Win.
do it. Sir Gwen prowess. I don't know.
Yeah, Sir Win something. Uh, yeah, we now have to do it. So yeah, I think not to be scratching my own back, but I think I'm proud of us to build not the generic standard decks
Yeah,
that you're.
I'm super proud. I'm super proud of Maya Layla. I think it's one of the
Yeah,
best
yeah.
decks I've seen.
Yeah. Um. So yeah, thank you so much, guys. And uh, if you like the deck, let us know. And yeah, we will see you again in the next episode.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you, guys. Bye bye.